It's the 17th of May.
Where did May go? Obligatory joke about time accelerating as you age.
It really has.
Today we're going to talk about security and nonsense.
Our opening story is terrifying.
It is terrifying, and it involves a name that has released a lot of terrifying security news.
Intel. New Intel firmware boot verification bypass enables low-level backdoors. By replacing a PC's SPI flash chip with one that contains rogue code, an attacker can gain full persistent access. This is really horrifying because what it does, just not even joking, part of the boot process is it loads everything from the SPI into RAM and checks it to be sure that the cryptographic signatures match. And if not, it halts boot. Then later, it reads from the flash again and just runs it.
Even though it's got it cached.
Yep.
It has the cache that's been verified. Doesn't use that. Goes back to the other one. So this guy said, I wonder if I were to change the SPI after the verification, could I? Yes, the answer is yes, you could. And so you could build. Now you'd need physical access, but that's nothing to state-sponsored espionage.
Now, if I were China, I would be accusing the U.S. of doing terrible things to backdoor my hardware because that is a pretty boneheaded oversight.
Yeah, and
boneheaded.
Overall, I mean, it might be minuscule, but hurts performance. Doesn't help it.
Yeah.
Because you're reading again.
Oh, from a serial peripheral interface, which is not fast.
When you've got a cache. So why would you make that choice?
Unless it was to have a backdoor.
Now, the good news is trivial to fix because, again, I mean, you're actually improving the code. So they're going to fix it, but how many people are going to update their...
This is also amazing because an undergrad student found this. An undergrad student.
He was trying to run something else. Well, Samsung, they've had some missteps recently. There was that foldable phone that didn't work out too well.
Oh.
Embarrassing. And I'm afraid their embarrassment will continue.
Samsung spilled the SmartThings app source code and secret keys. So Samsung on the record said, this is just for testing. It wasn't a thing, but it was a thing. And it was literally all of their stuff.
Well, the guy pulled the app from the App Store and was like, no, this is the same.
Yeah.
This is exactly the same. You put the real thing out there.
So it took them over a month to revoke their keys. God knows who else could have gotten it.
Sad.
Very. Well, this is also, we're going to be reporting on this again in about a month because I guarantee you criminals have downloaded that and they're going to be able to take over all of Samsung's Internet of Things, I would bet.
Yeah, it was a heavy amount of, leaking keys this week. Actually, in the past few weeks.
Yeah.
A lot of people are... Version control escapes most people. Especially, they'll get a low-level guy and bring him in, and he's like, all right, I'll just copy all the keys.
It's like, Tom, did you add a bunch of keys to the repository? Oh, yeah, it's cool, but I deleted them. And it's like, I don't think you understand how version control works, Tom.
Maybe Tom should be given an unhackable disk.
The unhackable encrypted flash drive, eyeDisk, as it happens, is actually hackable. They all have the same recovery password.
I don't think so. No, this guy's showing that he set this pass.
But it's in plain text over the connection.
Right, but this is unique. Like you said, when you set the device up, you do this.
Oh, okay.
But when it communicates, it shows up
text,
here. Yeah, so. And also, it leaked something else. Oh, yeah. The actual password, which is like the iris thing.
Oh, the iris pattern or whatever.
Also shows up in that same kind of...
Unencrypted.
So, pretty bad. Actually, again, this goes back to, did anybody even try to...
This was with a bus protocol analyzer where you have a device that sits between the device and the computer, which has got to be one of the first adversarial models that you would have for testing this.
There's no way the Chinese government has one of those.
You can only get one of those by signing them out from the NSA, and they've only got 3.
They're not all made in China. Microsoft has suffered some attacks to the SharePoint servers.
So Microsoft SharePoint servers are under attack. This is actually a vulnerability that was reported a while ago. So PSA, if your company uses SharePoint, you really need to like triple and quadruple check that you've got the patch for this installed, because if not, it's going to be real bad.
Well, the patch came out before this happened, but I guess nobody told Canada and Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. Or any number of other companies. Like, a lot of people think that automatic server updates would deploy stuff like this, especially in the context of like small business server. The answer is no, it doesn't.
Yeah, but this gets you in, and I think, is this the one where they launched the Chinese?
Yeah. You can you're able to escalate your access once you're in.
China Popper or something. I can't remember if that was this one or not. But anyway, it gives you low-level access, and then you just copy in what you want after that. Roll your own malware from that point. It gives you that kind of access.
Turns out the criminals have figured out how to reverse engineer that patch from a while ago, and if you don't have the patch, it's bad news.
This story is real low on details. And I can see why.
Hackers have breached 3 U.S. antivirus companies, researchers reveal. So they're looking for source code and how the antivirus software works in order to defeat it, basically, is what this story's about.
And they won't say what the antivirus companies are, obviously. But they also said that these guys were trying to sell it, and the source that these guys, Ars Technica was working with, was on the inside, but they found him out. I think Ars Technica might have leaked it, or some other company did. And so that guy's out of the loop now. So they're not sure exactly what's happening. But these guys have abandoned the forum they were trading on, and now they're just doing private messaging. So we're not sure where it went. Look how suspicious this guy is right here. Did you see that Red Hat, they did logo testing, and they're changing the logo because everybody thinks it looks like criminal and suspicious.
Yeah.
Because it's the hat. Trench coat. Yeah.
Swear,
So, like,
open source people have the worst luck.
What kind of like stupid hat do you think they'll in? Is it going to be like one of the propeller hats?
You remember what they did to Jesus in the movie Dogma? It's going to be like that, except it's going to be the fedora logo.
But the fedora also has such terrible, Q rating in terms of like neck beard, and it doesn't help that it's Linux.
Is there could fedora mean anything other than hat?
So there's a lot of apps out there that they tell you they're doing one thing and they're really doing another, like Facebook.
Yeah.
And this is an example of that that's a little easier to understand.
Millions of people uploaded photos to the Ever app. The company then used them to develop facial recognition tools. The app developers were not clear about their intentions, one Ever user said. I believe it's a huge invasion of privacy.
So on one hand, Ever was giving away this free app. And it's like, hey, share your memories. They talk about, I don't know if they show it here, but they talk about like the web page shows like Sundays with Grandpa, and it's like, oh, look how heartwarming this is. But on the other side, they were perfecting facial recognition and selling that to the big companies. And that was the real purpose for the whole thing.
Can you imagine if somebody like co-opted like the entire communication network of Skype and recorded all of the conversations between everybody and then used that to train an AI that could just have a normal conversation? So it's got the data set of all human communication on the entire Skype network for a couple of years. That's your input data set. And then the output data set is, will this thing pass the Turing test? And I think the answer is going to be, yeah, it totally would pass the Turing test.
Well, imagine if they did that with all the data that the NSA or the European Union collected.
The data retention policy. It's like, it seems like we're on a collision course for inventing sentient AI sooner rather than later.
This article is funny.
That's not how that works.
Because it was... I argue that Lorenzo Franceschi Bichleral, I don't know how to pronounce that, kind of is to blame a little bit here because no one told him that shouldn't put your phone number on the internet.
Google thought my phone number was Facebook's, and it ruined my life. So if you would search for... Because this guy wrote an article about Facebook, and his number was featured in the article that published his article.
He asked for readers to give him tips.
Yeah. Google was like, hey, I found a phone number on this page talking about Facebook. It must be Facebook's phone number. And it in fact was not.
Facebook does not give out a phone number. As you can imagine, they wouldn't. But it turns out people Google what is Facebook's phone number. They gave the statistics. It was a crazy amount. It was so many thousand times a minute. And this guy's number was coming up. And it's hilarious. He talks about all the reasons people were calling him up, from like, how dare you go after conservatives to, I didn't mean to post this, I need to take it down, like that kind of thing. And around the clock, he couldn't escape it. I mean, you just change your number at that point, right?
Yeah. It's like, I've made a huge mistake.
What are you going to do? But it does show that Google's, their algorithm searches desperately to fill in all those details about a business.
Yeah.
And if it can't find it on the main Facebook page, which it never will, it goes into page 2 of Google search.
And the algorithm gets a little fuzzy, colors a little outside the lines in those cases.
The story, it needs $1 to continue.
1 month of digital access for 99 cents. So which one was this one? Amazon
fraud.
Hit by extreme fraud by hackers siphoning merchant funds. So Amazon merchant people are having a bad day because hackers figured out how to get into the system that Amazon uses for paying them and have changed the payment details to their own.
And also, you can get loans as a business from Amazon. So they could not only steal your incoming cash, they take out some loans in your name.
Neat.
Yeah. They didn't give any details about how exactly they accomplished that. Probably because they don't want it repeated, but Amazon is also saying to these people, it might be a couple months before we unfreeze this because we have to figure out what's going on.
Which one of yous were criminals? Which one of you took advantage of the criminal confusion? Because
Will the non-criminals please step forward?
There was a situation I cleaned up like that once where it was like something bad happened and it was legit bad, but it wasn't like super bad. And I cleaned that up. And then there was another part that looked like somebody had done something completely intentionally. And I confronted them and it was like, this looks like you did this. And they were like, yeah, I didn't think you were going to be able to recover from that situation. So I took advantage of the situation by also helping myself and it was just like, what? Why would you do that?
Never let a crisis go to waste.
Yeah.
It was a bad week for Wall Street for a little while. Trump came out and said, no deal. And then what's his name? The other guy, the guy had to talk it back up. But in the meantime, Bitcoin had an amazing week.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why. Maybe it was just risk, hedging with Bitcoin. But Binance, on the other hand, did not have a good week.
Binance says that it lost more than 40 million in Bitcoin stolen in a large-scale hack. So this was their entire hot wallet. They lost their entire hot wallet.
I think it was just one of them.
They didn't lose everything, though. Yeah. Well, they said that there's one disturbing thing in this article that made it sound like they control enough of the blockchain to actually roll back the transactions. But I don't think that's true.
Well, they said they had the option, but they weren't going to do it.
I don't think that's not true.
They can... they're actually big enough they can absorb this, and they had a fund just for this kind of thing. But 40 million.
Yeah.
I gotta say, cryptocurrency, it sounds good and it's great, and it's certainly our monetary system has its flaws. But is this okay? Is it a Tesla versus internal combustion engine with catching fire situation where people just can't wait to report Bitcoin related theft versus the constant theft we have in the existing financial system? Or is Bitcoin this flawed in terms of security?
I think this is underscoring how flawed our own technological infrastructure is. Like, nothing is secure, everything is terrible. If this leads to us actually having secure computers, then we might be in a better spot. I think honestly, after the Snowden leaks and the NSA disclosures and things like Bitcoin, I think things have improved more in the last 5 years than they have in the last 50.
But the human element of error is always going to be too great to overcome.
The human element here is shockingly complicated.
And you can't go to that place where it's like, I'm sorry, Martha, you've been deemed too stupid to compute. Because that's like a human rights.
Well, we actually do have that. Like, there are legal frameworks for that. Like, you set up a trust. It's like, Martha, you are too stupid to manage your money. You get a budget of $2,000 a month, and the law office pays your rent and your groceries and stuff like that.
Like Britney Spears.
Yeah, exactly.
People are furious about that. They don't like that.
Well, look, she went through a period in her life where she was too stupid, and the conservators are actually, like, the legal framework for that. It's actually pretty good because you can go to them and you can say, I'm more responsible now, give me more money, and most of the time they will.
Yeah, but see, you're taking
more control.
You're taking this is the argument against like the wealth, like the gun rule.
Oh yeah,
like, there's the gun rule where your family can just call up the cops and be like, I'm afraid he's going to harm himself or others.
That's terrible.
And then you lose everything. So was Britney really crazy?
It seemed like it from the outside, but maybe that was just VH1.
In the Netherlands, they have this sort of points out the flaw of Internet of Things, although this is not... they are Internet of Things now.
Yeah.
But it's an older technology. But it shows what can go wrong when we depend on these things.
I got a firmware update for my ankle monitor, and that has crashed the ankle monitors in the Netherlands. So yeah, this update prevents ankle monitors from sending back data to the police control rooms. So ankle monitor people, we don't know where you are.
Yeah.
Don't panic.
And it's not your fault. So we can't really blame you for it, although they did round up a bunch of them and arrest them. So it's like, hey, we screwed up. Go to jail.
We're going to have to keep you in a confined cell for a while so we know where you are.
In fairness, I guess they did do something originally to merit that. So, yeah, was the biggest thing. But they also pointed out that wireless communication went down once before.
Oh, yeah.
And they lost a whole day of ankle monitoring. So... bad news.
I think as long as the criminals don't know that they're not being monitored, that really wouldn't be much of an issue.
What about a great storyline for like a crime movie or novel or whatever, where like a Jeff Bezos type, he's been caught for insider trading and he's on house arrest with his ankle monitor, and he organizes a rolling blackout to disable the ankle monitor so he can go and like have a secret meeting.
He's got to meet with China to open up the China markets, but there can't be a record of the meeting.
That'd be it. It's a great story trope, and you should use it if you're writing a book or something. Well, you know what? Sometimes I'll pick stories just because I'll talk. I think about how Krista's going to react to them.
She's not here,
and because she loves mushrooms so much, I thought this would be funny, but she's not here.
Denver just became the first U.S. city to decriminalize psychedelic mushrooms. So, Denver, what are you doing?
Weed's already legal. Now you're gonna get your mushrooms there. That's gonna have a specific kind of tourism dollar. In Denver. Krista's thinking about where to go on her honeymoon. I keep trying to steer her toward Colorado.
She doesn't realize what's happening.
Just for the memes. I think actually she would have a good time there.
Yeah,
because she likes all that stuff.
The hiking and the camping and stuff.
Well, here's a problem.
Or the weed and stuff. No.
Here's a problem. It's Ramadan, and you're a Muslim, and you need to get up and have your morning meal before dawn comes. Because if you forget, you can't eat all day long.
Got to fast.
not got to go fast. Just
we're not going to talk about the Sonic movie.
We did last week. So, how do you solve that problem? Well, Indonesia has the answer.
The Indonesian Air Force is going to fly a jet fighter to wake people up for sahur. Hopefully I got the pronunciation of that right.
I have no idea.
So, just like the jet's sonic boom is going to wake people up over the Indonesian islands. So
it shouldn't be expensive at all for that jet fuel and maintenance.
It seems like a pragmatic solution. We got jets. We got the fasting going on.
You know what else we've got? We've got smartphones that have alarm clocks on them. I don't think this is a big problem. But, yeah, I guess it's a fun PR thing. They do have some Twitter responses of people pointing out how bad of an idea that is. Yeah. The other thing about it is they talk about how they want to be able to train their pilots, but during the fasting, doctors point out that after 10 a.m., your blood sugar is going to drop to a dangerous level for piloting planes. Makes sense, right? And I've been dealing with my cats and their medical problems, which thankfully seem to have gone away now that we're using super expensive cat food.
Level 1 Cats YouTube channel.
And but imagine, if you will, now your mom had some hoarding.
Yep. A lot of hoarding.
Her cat didn't live indoors.
No.
But can you imagine when the hoarding situation wasn't things and baubles and tchotchkes, but cats?
More than 300 cats were just found in a Toronto apartment. It was a one-bedroom apartment on like the 18th floor.
Like, how would you even walk?
The animal control people described the situation as the cats were breeding prolifically.
Yeah. Just a big cat orgy. And like, there's no way that any amount of cat litter could contain all that poop. They had to be just going freeform at some point.
Yeah.
And feeding them.
What are they eating?
Well, like a 50-pound bag of cat food for 300 cats. How long would that last?
A day.
You think we need a situation where, like, there's a hotline. It's like, no, she bought another bag. You got to check out the address. Something's bad happening there.
They were able to rescue all the cats. Apparently 70 needed medical attention, 70 of the 300.
Well, yeah, of course.
But
you got to think that just the competition for food was leading to battles, and it's a terrible situation.
They're all up for adoption and all that. So you can, if you're in the Toronto area, you can adopt a hoarder cat.
Here's the thing I thought was interesting. In Toronto, 6 cats per address.
Unless you're animal rescue. But that seems like a lot of foresight.
Also a lot of cats. Let me tell you, 2 are a handful.
Yeah.
Well, Doom. There's a new Doom coming out, right? Doom Eternal. And maybe as part of the PR campaign for that, we've got this Doom-based fitness.
Bethesda is pursuing a Doom-based fitness program, and it is surprisingly educational. So, like, quad damage is not overworking your quadriceps.
Ripped and Tear is the name that they're giving it. And they're pointing out the target groups. Now, they've only done a couple. So they've done quadriceps, lats, and Slayer speed ledge climbing. Nice. Now, I think this is a bit of an unrealistic image. Unrealistic body image for the young men.
How would you even get your abs to look like that?
Well, I think that's just the armor.
Oh, right.
But these arms. You're
going to have to lift demons like over your head 20 times a day.
20 times a day? That's like the One Punch Man workout. Oh, so many pop-ups. Now, this one makes me think back. Remember the Obama phone controversy?
Oh, yeah. Poor people can get a phone.
Well, not just poor people, homeless people. Do they need a phone? Well, I suppose maybe they do. I mean, how else are you going to do drug deals, right? So, in is this the UK or the EU?
NHS, so this would be the UK.
The UK has decided it's not just phones that poor people need.
Call for poor and disabled to be given NHS fitness trackers. Wearable groups, could be left behind by technology revolution in medicine. So, basically, you wear the fitness tracker, and it will detect if you've fallen, but it'll also keep an eye on your blood pressure and your heart rate and lots of other good stuff. But if you're poor or elderly, you don't want to fool with these things.
You don't?
Well, I mean, because they cost money.
Oh, you're saying, you wouldn't. So, but they're saying nationalize, give them out as a. Now, disabled, wouldn't it be kind of a smack in the face if you get like a step tracker and you're in a wheelchair?
We can still keep an eye on your blood pressure and that kind of thing.
I suppose. They point out that the bottom 15% of earners are generally the bottom 15% in terms of health.
Yeah.
Which kind of
makes sense.
Yeah. So slap these things on them and then, I don't know, I guess call them in whenever something weird happens. But who's monitoring that?
I was always surprised that like just from a food standpoint, even if you get all the vitamins and nutrients and stuff that you want, there was a study here in the U.S. that if you got your vitamins through a supplement versus your vitamins from eating whatever, the vitamins from the supplements were absorbed by the body at a much lower rate than from eating whatever.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's pretty well known that everything that you get, you should get from your food.
Yeah.
I've even seen where people said that drinking water, your body eliminates too much of that. You should be eating like water-filled greens and like celery and stuff to get your hydration.
I believe it.
I don't know if I believe that one, but
I've noticed that sometimes if I have a banana, like I will be like halfway through eating a banana, and it's like I'm thirsty. I should have something to drink, and then I finish the banana, and I'm less thirsty after that because I think that I don't seem to have my body doesn't seem to know if I'm really hungry or thirsty. But sometimes when I have food that has a lot of water in it, like a banana, it makes me not thirsty.
just like toast. You know what? You should get some Blue Wilderness cat food. That seems to
Because it's super moist.
Yeah. The online challenges continue to take their toll. There's so many. I'm not going to itemize them, but we've laboriously covered all of them in the news. They're one stupider than the next, and now one has actually cost someone their life.
A teen has been critically injured while playing the choking game and has donated his organs. Critically injured was he starved his brain of oxygen, so he survived, but brain dead.
Yeah, there he is. There's a picture of the young man. He's at this point. I don't know if he's dead yet, but they have decided
To harvest his organs.
to not, to pull him off, but not like they'll pull him off right after they yank those organs out of there.
Yeah. He's going to live on in other people.
Just, you got to feel bad.
Choking
It's
game?
like she was making that post to Twitter, Facebook, or something, and it's like she mentioned the incident, but you got to be ashamed of your kid. Choking game. So, public service announcement: don't play the choking game. And he did that by himself. That's choking yourself, by the way.
Yeah.
The idea is you choke yourself until you pass out. And you're fine, because once you pass out, you start breathing again. Complications.
Unless you land funny or, whatever. Isn't this how we lost the Kung Fu Legend Continues guy?
Yeah.
David King Carradine, yeah.
That was not the choking game.
It kind of was.
It was a different kind of game. Kazakhstan has had a bit of a despotic government problem.
They've been on eggshells ever since that whole Borat movie.
You think that's what caused it? They don't like any sort of speaking out against the current regime, and it's gotten a bit comical.
Kazakh a citizen has been detained over an empty placard vigil. So this guy thought that, hey, there's something bad going on in my country. Like, you can't really say anything. It's not that you can protest anything or whatever. So he's just literally standing outside of their equivalent of parliament or like their government building or whatever it was. And he's just got a blank sign, and they arrested him. And it's funny because he called the mayor's office, and it was like, I think this is really bad. We're heading toward a bad place here. And the assistant from the mayor's office was like, no, I'll tell you what, I'll go stand with you to make sure that nothing happens. And then that guy got a phone call, and he was only gone 5 minutes, and the police showed up and arrested him.
He also called the press, and he made a special point to not say anything, because if he were chanting something, then that might be disturbing the peace. And he took his blank sign because how could a blank piece of paper be considered, against the government?
They did let him go after they realized what he was doing.
But he got arrested.
But he was arrested
in the first place.
Something's not. So I think his point has been proven that something very naughty is going on in Kazakhstan.
But will it mean anything?
I mean, it does to the West, but they've probably already moved on to the next thing in the news cycle in his local area.
Oh, the news cycle there is probably a little slower. You think that they even got reported there?
Probably not.
They probably got a state news agency.
They reported it, but then the military police that was in the newspaper publishing thing was like, no, we're not running this story.
We talk a lot about water on Level 1 News because, it's like the whole Nestle argument. Evil corporation, but I like the taste of the water. The forum had a thread about water, and it got as bad as you thought it might. But some people see the water debate and they say, this is stupid. We're killing our planet with these plastic bottles. We're pulling out of public sources. They're selling it to us. This guy saw that same thing, and he said, you know what? I can make a bunch of money with that.
Former creative director for Netflix puts water in a can and calls it punk, and it has raised $1.6 million in funding.
So here it is.
Yeah, canned
Liquid
water.
death. Murder your thirst. This seems like something from The Simpsons or Futurama, don't you think?
It really does.
Like you'd see advertising like this on the wall. It'd be one of those jokes that they don't point out, but you catch on like the second viewing.
I'm pretty sure that I already saw this product in Idiocracy.
Yeah, basically. What was it? Brono?
Brondo,
Yeah.
the thirst mutilator.
And this guy just said, you know what? I think people will buy it. And I don't know if people are buying it, but he's got his funding. So the idea is kind of parody, but it's real. But also, he's playing the environmental card because he's saying these aluminum cans a lot better for the environment.
Yeah, the plastic bottles.
Although I've had water from a can, it tastes very aluminum-y.
That's the Alzheimer's.
Yeah. Forget your worries. So if you want some liquid death, coming soon, I guess. This article was great. It's really long, but I read all of it because, was it Polygon? It was just more horrifying as I went and really galvanized my decision to never have children.
I got about halfway through it, and the headline is Fortnite is free, but kids are getting bullied into spending money. And about halfway through, I was just so incredulous. Like, there is nobody. Like, no, this can't be a thing. This has got to be exaggerated. But
so the great thing about this, we throw around the word normie here on the Level 1 News, meaning someone who doesn't have a personality disorder, is well adjusted, and as such doesn't know the esoteric things that we know. Basically, is what that means. But these kids are using default as a way of saying someone is like poor or basic.
Yeah.
Or they've not even played enough Fortnite to get a different skin. They're a default. We don't hang out with them.
That's horrifying.
They had a lot of testimonials from all these parents. It's like, I couldn't believe that my kid came to me and was explaining like they needed this $20 skin, or the kids at school just weren't going to talk to them.
But it's a free game. Like, I would be excited to play a free game. Because stuff, I don't know.
Free as in speech, not as in beer.
Well, I'm thinking back. So, like, I think it's, I don't think there was an equivalent of this because...
Oh, there absolutely was. It was like jeans and shoes.
Oh, no, I was thinking on the computer side. So I was thinking like Shareware Doom. Remember Shareware Doom? Everybody was playing Shareware Doom. Nobody had the real copy.
No, but it's just that... Well, let's see. Not everybody was playing Doom.
Well, yeah, I guess it was just like
was a very
the five of us.
Small amount of us playing Doom. And the other kids were absolutely...
Yeah,
the status was based on all these different cars.
Yeah.
And now everybody plays Fortnite.
Come to think of it, I do recall getting the cold shoulder a few times for wearing my potato sack shirts.
Your black shoes with white socks that you continue to wear to this day.
Yeah. Might have worn socks and sandals a few times.
You would have been a default.
Yeah.
Actually, you probably would have played enough Fortnite that you'd get like the unlocks. Because you can get free stuff, right? Or am I wrong about that?
Yeah, you can't. Well, sometimes you get like a rare skin, and that talks about that. But I mean, that's not really a thing with the. It's definitely a status symbol of some kind. But it seemed to me to be arbitrary what exactly the status symbol was.
Just like fashion. So they brought that up. Now, I remember as a kid we had Guess jeans were really popular.
Oh yeah.
And then there was Tommy Hilfiger.
Yeah. And what was it, like the khaki cargo pants? Those were a thing for a while.
I don't know what the brand was with those, but it changed. It was cyclical because fashion is cyclical, and they talk about how Epic does that where skins will only be available for a limited amount of time.
Yeah.
And then the store refreshes, and so you have to get it, and then there's like a season where it's cool, and then the next thing comes out.
Yeah.
And you're like,
I'm not wearing that skin anymore.
You're still wearing the zebra stripes? Wow. I'm not sure if we can be associated anymore. And just the ruthlessness of these kids.
Yeah.
So.
Pro tip, don't like monitor your kids enough to make sure that they're not terrible people.
Well, the one guy they talked to here, he was like, I would play with my son. I'd be like, look, son, we're both going to be defaults because it doesn't matter. And he was just like, Dad, you don't get it. You are a default, and I don't want to be one.
That's really horrifying.
That is horrifying. I mean, how do you deal with that? Do you give in? Because giving in not only reinforces bad things for your child, but you're paying $20 for a stupid skin in a video game.
That is really horrifying.
Dark. I mean, at least with jeans and shoes, they had a function.
I eventually learned to be happy with my potato sacks.
You also eventually learned that if some of the kids, if they were popular enough and just didn't care, then they would set a trend.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I'm not saying that was me, but there is, you don't have to be a follower, but you learn that lesson too late in life.
We've had a lot of people ask after your plaid shirts for the Level 1 store.
Which are purely functional.
They don't care.
Although, I'm going to have to get some new ones, which I don't like to do. I don't like to spend money on clothes. Seems pointless. Mr. Musk tweeted about this and made light of it. And honestly, I'm surprised it took this long.
Me too.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
But it's happened. It's here.
A couple has used Tesla Autopilot in porn. So this was the number one thing on Pornhub for a while, I guess, according to the article.
Yeah, and number one search, and the actress was so proud that
she changed her name.
Tesla Taylor. If you're Musk, do you think that's good brand awareness?
Yeah, he probably was not going to say anything like that, but yeah, probably.
But he did mention, and I don't know if he was referencing this or just making a joke that eventually it would happen, not knowing that it already had. Now, they do point out that what they did was illegal. You shouldn't take your hand off the wheel. And this guy did, for sure. But I don't think they're going to get any criminal charges for it.
What state was it? You don't even know.
I imagine most porn is... Well, I guess that's not true anymore, right? You can make porn anywhere. But most porn is shot on the West Coast, right? In California?
Yeah, probably. There would be a way to fake this as well. I mean, there's like a whole... The first time I was in California, there was a rig that was driving, and it was like a really nice, like a 1960s convertible, and it was being pulled by another truck, and there were just people in the back of the truck, like two different camera crews in the back of the truck, filming the car behind it. And it was the craziest thing that I ever saw, because it looked like the people were in the car driving, but the people in the car were not driving at all. It was being pulled by another vehicle, and that's how you do driving shoots in California, apparently.
I think that's always how they do it.
Okay, well, I thought it was always in like a studio where like the
Although
cars...
the low budget ones, you'll notice what they do is they just like frost out the back window.
Oh, so you can't tell you're not moving.
They're playing a loop of traffic back there, but you can just see like the lights and stuff, because it's like, oh, the window's foggy. It's not really. I don't think that the budget for this video was high enough to have
the
ride follow along rig. Yeah, I don't think so. I think they actually were in the autopilot having sex.
Yeah, probably.
But you know what? You can be your own judge, because you can go on the Pornhub and check it out.
Engagement challenge.
I don't know if Interesting Engineering links to it, but I'm sure you can find it easily enough.
Interestingengineering.com. Probably another thing we're going to be demonetized for even mentioning it. So dumb. The algorithm has run amok.
Now, the other interesting thing that Interesting Engineering said is Musk has made another speech, and he says that internal combustion engines owners, if you're buying one right now, it's like you're buying a horse.
I don't think we're quite there yet. Maybe
not. Well, when the automatic taxi revolution comes, do you want to be on the wrong side of history? They don't make your preferred mode of transportation in Tesla yet. I'm sure it's coming.
Oh, yeah. They probably do.
I think they do.
They're working on it.
I'm sure it's coming soon. Now, we decided to put this one last. We always try to put the funniest one last. This is another one where we want to get Krista's reaction to it, because she's so right. I actually sent this to her during the week and did get her reaction, and she was outraged. Although she wasn't as outraged as I'd hoped. I sent those links hoping for a severe reaction.
You're in like the opposite corner of the office, and you want to be able to audibly hear her reaction from your office.
The retching.
Yeah.
So when you think of hentai and manga, I guess the stereotype, and that's kind of what this guy was pointing out. The stereotype is rape. What he calls it, non-consensual sex. Let's call it what it is. It's rape. Whether that's traditional or demon or tentacle or whatever. There seems to be a lot of it. And that's the joke. But this guy said, you know what? I'm going to crunch the numbers. I'm going to do the math. And I'm going to show you.
So the Anime News Network, yeah, this might be a first, Level 1 News, brings us his analysis. And this is a surprisingly dry and academic analysis with a helpful table. I think the whole article could be summed up with the table.
Yes, the table,
much.
that's the star of the show right there.
So the publishing, like if you're into, like I feel like Krista would say that the only publisher that's any good is the Magnum X at the bottom, maybe?
That is, yeah.
100% consensual.
I like, for example, Comic Bavel was like, guys, keep it to a minimum, but we have to have some. Let's go for 5% rape. And they're like, what? The industry standard is 15. What are you thinking?
The industry standard is actually 15.
So, as you can see, now I don't know what Angel Club is, but they go hard. Now, here's the crazy thing. I don't know if you noticed this. Some of these don't add up to 100.
Yeah.
What's the other part?
It was ambiguous. There's a one line in there that mentions that.
Well, that might be even scarier.
Yeah.
Even scarier than the rape. Yeah. Now, this guy also chose to find a second data point, which was the number of maids. And I don't speak this language, but it seems like over time, the maids are falling out of favor. They mentioned that this guy is well known for his statistical analysis of hentai manga type stuff, which is an interesting job to have. I don't think he gets paid for it.
One that the historians will be talking about for centuries to come, no doubt.
Yeah. I guess you know what? As a way to sign off this week, I would say be less like Angel Club and more like Magnum X. We'll see you next week.